Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. There's been a lot of talk about Daniel Dubois and his father and the relationship between the two. Stan Dubois or Dave, I'm not sure which one is his real name, but he goes by both Stan or Dave. And Caroline is, first of all, Stan Dubois has 11 children, 7 with Daniel Dubois' mother and 4 with another woman. I don't know whether it's a previous marriage or whatever, but in the middle of the 7 is Caroline Dubois. And she is, as you may know, a professional fighter, 23 years of age. She turned pro in, I think, February of 22, so that's 2.5 years she's been a pro. She's the current WBC interim champion. And she's a very, very good female fighter, very good fighter indeed. She also holds the IBO title for what it's worth. But she's in the ascendancy, you know, she's doing very, very well in her career. And we've talked, like I say, we talked a lot about the relationship between Daniel and Stan, but the relationship between Caroline and her father is, I find it really quite sad, because Caroline gave an interview earlier today on Seconds Out. It's the second interview she's given on Seconds Out in about 3 or 4 days. And both these have been very, very interesting. This one really went into a lot of detail about her relationship with her father, where she stands with him, where he stands with her, what's gone on, because there is some estrangement there. Not only does Caroline not speak to her dad currently, she doesn't speak to Daniel either. And, you know, it's not good when you're not able to speak to your big brother. Daniel's 27, I think Caroline's 23. And I find it really, really sad that this young woman, who is obviously a very strong, strong-willed woman, someone who spoke at length about the fact that she is boxing for herself and not her father. It's not good when you're estranged from your parents. Now, in the interview, she talked about some of the remarks that Stan Dubois had made, saying that he had noticed a change in Caroline, and that since she was boxing, and that he felt, you know, she was changing. She felt that she was losing her femininity. And Caroline said, and basically Stan was saying he doesn't really like women boxing. He's not keen on it. Well, Caroline said, her words, "This is BS. It's trash and it's a lie." Those are the words she used. And this is in reply to her father's comments. She came across in this interview, like I say, as being a very forceful, strong-willed woman. And for one so young, she seemed wise beyond her years. She talked extensively in contrast to Daniel, who has very little to say, to the point where you do wonder if he's on some sort of spectrum, and never disagrees with his dad. He's always talking about his dad, how his dad's helped him and so on and so forth. Caroline, the polar opposite, really. And in fact, you know, you have to wonder, when you consider what a domineering force Stan Dubois is, whether he's sort of inadvertently, you know, given her those character traits to the point where Caroline is now saying, she says openly, I do this shit for myself, not my dad, is what she said. And she's not, you get the impression she's completely sincere when she's talking. And she doesn't appear, in the interview, she doesn't appear hurt, even though she might well be feeling some you know, emotional pain about being estranged from her dad and her brother. She doesn't appear hurt. She appears determined and focused and a really strong person. That's how she came across to me anyway. Now, she also mentioned that Stan, the reason that Stan's comments about not liking women boxing are nonsensical is because Caroline said, well, I started boxing when I was 9, and my dad was with me, you know, right up till, I think she mentioned a couple of years ago when there was the Savannah Marshall, Clarissa Shields fight, that big card, which was all female fights. It was actually a really good card. And she boxed on that, and she said that her father was there. And so suddenly he's turned around and he said, well, I don't like women boxing. And, well, so you've spent years and years and years formulating this opinion, have you? He may have done. And Caroline also said that he would make remarks along the lines of, you need to be more like Daniel. What does he mean by that? Well, perhaps it means, the impression I got reading between the lines was that Stan Dubois was saying that Caroline should be more like Daniel in the sense that she should do what she's told, not necessarily what she wants to do. She should listen to her dad and be at her dad's beck and call, which Daniel is, effectively. I mean, after the Joshua fight, Daniel, he immediately thanked his dad. He didn't even mention Don Charles, who was his head coach. He never mentions Don Charles, which is curious. But Caroline, there was a breakup with Caroline and Shane McGuigan. Daniel was in the gym with Shane McGuigan. Stan came along, said he didn't really want Caroline boxing, something along those lines. Daniel left the gym, went to Don Charles, and Caroline stayed with Shane. And Shane, Shane deserves credit for sticking with Caroline. He's doing a great job with her. I mean, she really looks very impressive. But it's... I always try and play devil's advocate and put myself in the opposing corner. Because there's two sides to every story. And you've got to, even if the other side is unconvincing, you've got to at least consider it if you're going to be objective. And you're talking about a man in Stan Dubois. He's got all these kids. God knows how he keeps track of them. I mean, 11, that's a football team, isn't it? But if I was a dad, I'm not a parent. If I was a dad, would I want my son being punched in the face? Would I want my son to be a fighter of any sort, any kind of combat sport? Not really. And would I want my daughter being punched in the face? No, I wouldn't. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm, Mr. Enlightened, Mr. Mr. Egalitarian, completely. No, we all have certain. I think biases is the wrong word. Some would argue it would be the right word, but we all have certain things that make us sort of, cringe or think, no, I can't accept that. That's bad. That's bad. And having a daughter and watching her being punched in the face is one of those things I think that would do me in, frankly. Now, having said that, of course, and again, I don't have children, but when they become adults, you've got to let them go. You've got to let them do their thing. You've done your bit. You put food on the table, shirt on the back, roof over the head, guided them, hopefully, instilled some respect in them, respect for themselves, respect for others and all that stuff. You've done your bit. Now they're going to fly the nest, as they say. And I would like to think that if I was a parent, I would continue to support them in whatever they did. And Caroline does seem like, a very well-adjusted, wise beyond her years young woman. So I would imagine that, if she was my kid, this is only me speculating, but I'd imagine if I had a daughter like that who knew what she wanted to do and was disciplined and did it, I'd be proud of her. And I wonder if Stan is secretly proud of her, if he just doesn't want her to fight because he doesn't want her being hit. Of course, the flip side of that is, well, your son Daniel, he's top of the world now. But don't forget he suffered a busted eye socket against Joe Joyce. He's been hit plenty. He's been hurt. He's been stopped twice, knocked out twice. I mean, you have to... It's that sort of constant balance between recognising that, women have as much right to do whatever they want with their lives as men do, but also as a protective father wanting to protect your daughters, And yes, the dynamic is going to be different if it's a son and a daughter. I mean, we pretend it isn't, but then this is the sort of the flaw with the whole political correctness, or as they call it nowadays, woke, which is basically the bastard child of political correctness. You can pretend to be this great, all equal bastion of fairness, but when it comes to the crunch, when it comes to the reality of the situation, you might feel differently. Some of you, I'm sure, have got sons and daughters, or one or the other. I mean, how do you feel? You leave your comments below. I'm very, very interested to hear your opinions of it. So maybe some of you have got kids who do box or do MMA or kickboxing or whatever. Tell me what you think. But I did find this interview really, really interesting, really interesting. I advise you to go over and see it. It's on Seconds Out. Like I say, Caroline Gale. I don't know if was it an edited version of this interview? I watched it a few days ago. There was definitely another Seconds Out interview with her a few days ago, but it might have been a shorter version of this one. I might be wrong about that. But go and have a look on Seconds Out. Have a listen. Tell me what you think. Again, she really speaks extensively. The polar opposite of Daniel. It's really quite striking how different they are in character. But I suppose if you've got 11 kids, you're going to have it's a bit of a pick and mix, isn't it? You're going to have different types of characters. But I think it's fascinating that Stan Dubois, with his stubbornness and his refusal to see anything other than his own opinion, the my way or the highway attitude, is clearly reflected in Caroline. It isn't in Daniel to any degree. Daniel is completely obedient. Caroline is her own sort of feisty self. And I think more power to her. Now, as a lightweight champ, she's got an interim belt. You got Katie Taylor. Let me get this right. You got Katie Taylor. I think it's the WBC lightweight title. She still holds that belt. Terry Harper just beat, was it Rhiannon Dixon, wasn't it, at the weekend? She's got the WBO belt. And the IBF belt is, I think, the best of the lot. These are lightweights, by the way, I should point out. This is the one person I would pick to beat Caroline, and that is Beatriz Ferreira of Brazil. She's an extremely dangerous, hard-punching fighter. If you've never seen her, go and have a look on YouTube. If I was Caroline, I'd look for a unification with Terry Harper. Try and go for that. Katie Taylor's the big money girl, but avoid Beatriz Ferreira, at least until you've got more experience. Because Caroline's had 10 fights, 5 KOs, quite a high amount for the female game with the 10-2s distance, and no draws. But, yeah, she's a good fighter, a very good fighter, and only 23. So we'll see where her career leads. Look, leave your comments below if you've got any comments at all, if you want to talk about anything. And thank you for your time. As always, please subscribe to the channel if you're new, and also hit the like button and help the channel out. I always appreciate your time. Looking forward to reading what you've got to say, and bye for now.